Hey, hello everybody. It's John Harris here with another Oak Ridge Swim Meet talk show. Today, I am here with
Coach Kelly.
and to start this week's episode off, I'm going to be doing an interview. So I've got a couple questions to ask you, Coach Kelly. So
Yes.
first up, could you just tell us about where you were born and where you grew up, and what was your life like as a kid, teenager, and just what was your family life like?
Well, I was born in Ohio, and my family moved to the outskirts of St. Louis when I was very young. I grew up outside of St. Louis, and then I went to college in Florida, in St. Petersburg. So I went to Ecker College right after high school. For the most part, both my parents were extremely active with us. All three of us, did so many different activities. I started out on a swim team when I was young. I did softball, I did gymnastics, acrobatics team. Then I went to working with showing Arabian horses and training them. So I've always been involved in lots of different things. But yeah, and then I moved to Chicago, and then 5 years ago I moved here.
Okay, now what can you tell us about just your family now at home? What do you go home to after work's done with the swim team?
Well, I have three boys. I have three teenagers, twins that are freshmen here, and one that's a senior here. And I am a widow, and so it's kind of difficult sometimes putting all of that together, but now that they're older, it's much easier, actually. My mom and my stepfather live a few houses away from me. Actually, I moved here because they moved here, so I help them in their aging years, and they help me with the boys. That's pretty much the family.
Now, you mentioned earlier that you've always kind of been swimming, so is this where your background knowledge for swimming comes from, just your already years of experience?
Yeah, a lot of it actually comes from my dad. My father taught me how to swim early on when I was very young. We would go to Wisconsin on vacations every summer, and that's about the only time I got a chance to be around him frequently. Because he was always on the road. But every summer he would teach my sister, my brother, and I all summer long. And so I grew up with it probably starting at 4 or 5 years old. All the way through. I was on the middle school swim team, and then once I got into high school, that's when I started branching out to the other sports.
Okay, and what do you enjoy the most about coaching the Oak Ridge Wildcats swim team?
Oh my goodness! The students, the youth. That's the most. I was a teacher since 1999. I took a break to raise my own kids when they were very young. So it was about a 5-year break, but I've been a teacher since then. And when I moved here, I went back to college to get my sciences back up and try to get another degree. So I was doing part-time school, part-time work, and that's when I started working at the Civic Center as a lifeguard, and then I went into teaching their lessons and doing the Red Cross lessons. But then I ended up branching out and making my own business to give my own private swim lessons. But for the most part, I wanted to be around kids and youth, but I wasn't able to. So then when Coach Hodge called me and asked me if I wanted this position, it was right up my alley because I miss being in a classroom. I miss having a classroom. But right now I'm balancing a lot of other things, so this is a perfect opportunity for me to be around youth.
Okay, that's all the questions that I have for you. Thank you so much
okay.
for coming out and giving us this interview.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Good. Okay, now I think Coach Hodge should be making his way back here. Okay, so before we move on to our next topic, I got to thank a sponsor, and that sponsor is the White Pest Control, safe and reliable pest control since 1982. And now we will be talking about our meet against Farragut last week. I was not able to be there, so a lot of this talk is going to be new stuff for me.
Yeah, it was a little bit different. We didn't get to have the audio and commentary from John. He had a family emergency he needed to take care of, and Christian was over at the basketball game that was a huge game for our high school. And congratulations to the boys. They're now in the state tournament just like they were last year, but this year hopefully they're going to be able to go there and finish what they started last year. And just something that Coach Kelly was talking about, she mentioned that she kind of grew up and was there in St. Louis. That's my favorite baseball team, the St. Louis Cardinals. When I heard she moved to Chicago, that's not good. Hopefully she didn't change to a Cubs fan. But at the meet, something before we talk about the meet for just a second, I have missed a couple more, or actually 3 more Kissel cuts that have not been mentioned to this point. Genevieve Kress has one in the 200 IM, along with Rachel Branham. She also has it in the 200 IM, and then Claudia Trebaka also has one in the 100 back. So those have just accumulated over time and just catching up from previous swim meets. So we've got a ton of kids with a ton of cuts right now. So we're moving right along and doing really well. Now, when it comes to the Farragut swim meet, once again, the parents did a fantastic job. I was just overwhelmed with joy of how well it went, how fast it went. It was very well organized, clockwork flow of the kids from the gym to the pool deck. That's 2 weeks in a row we've done that, and I don't expect anything different against Catholic and in a couple of days. So that went really well. The meal after the meet was also great. We had a couple of people sponsor us and give us some free chicken strips and some free cookies, and that was just awesome yet again for us to not have to utilize some of our money that maybe we can spend in a different way when it comes needed. We swam very well, and we competed just like I thought we would. Our kids rise to the challenges. And they outscored us, but we made it closer than what a lot of people probably thought it would have been. I think their coaches were even kind of surprised to see the score and see how well we swam. And Farragut's an excellent program, one of the top ones in East Tennessee. I'll be shocked if they don't finish in the top 5 in the state when we do the state tournament. I believe these kids really believe in themselves and expect a challenge. I don't think they want us to swim against teams they know they can beat. It's almost like a loss of morale by doing that. So when we created the schedule, they looked at it and they knew that they better pick up their game and step up their game and do the things it takes to compete, and they've done just that. There was a couple of things that I'll point out about the meet that were a little bit different besides just the kids that made cuts or bettered their cut times. One of those was that stood out was Mason Fisher. She was getting ready to swim the 100 free, and she had to get there late, so she didn't even get to do a warm-up. She was having to take care of some rowing stuff, and so she got there late, didn't get to warm up like the other kids, and just come swinging in over there to me and said, "Coach, about to swim the 100 free. I want to swim the fly instead." So I was a little confused at first because I thought, does she want me to switch events and get her into the 100 fly instead of the 100 free? And I said, well, I can try to figure out a way to do it. I said, you probably won't be, getting points for it. She goes, no. I'm about to swim the 100 free, but I'm going to swim the fly in the 100 free. I said, okay. And she went up there, got on the blocks, dove in, and won the doggone race doing the fly. I've never seen that done. I don't know if it's ever been done, so it may be a first in swimming histories, but I just thought it was really cool. I know her dad thought it was really cool. He was just cheesing when she won there at the end. He was one of the timers in another lane. So I just thought that was really cool, and I think it also pushed Carter, who was in the lane next to her, to get an even better time than she would have. So Carter's getting really close to her 100 free state cut. Some cuts that were made Kissel-wise. Carter and Jared both made the 200 free. Ella bettered her Kissel and State cut in the 200 free as well by 2 seconds, and Sarah bettered her Kissel 200 free by 5 seconds. So those are, and that's hard. For one, that's hard to do for Ella. Ella swims year-round, so she swims a lot of meets. So you getting a 2-second cut in an event as a year-round swimmer is really rare. I mean, it really is. So I know she has to be pleased with that. And then Sarah's just a freshman. For her to cut 5 seconds off is just shows how well she's doing. Claudia and Quentin both made the 200 IM cut, and I was pleased with their swims. Rosalie made the 100 fly. Sydney made the 100 back. Kellyanne and Jared both bettered their 100 back Kissel cuts. Amelia made the 500 free cut, while her brother Dillon made the 100 back. Charlie bettered her 100 breast cut. And Mason bettered her Kissel and State 100 breasts cut by 3 seconds. And that's not easy to do. I don't care how good you are, cutting 3 seconds off the 100 breast when you're at the level that Mason is at shows how hard she was going and how focused she was. And that was impressive. Claire and Brian both made the 100 breast cuts as well. And that was Claire's first Kissel cut, so I was very proud of her as well. We had 3 winners of events. Ella won the 200 free, Mason won the 100 free, swimming the fly, and then Amelia won the 500 free. So I was very happy about that. There was one other thing. I mentioned a couple of things. One, the second one was something that stood out was Colton Lancaster. Now, he swam the 500 free for the first time, but that wasn't what impressed me. He's just a first-year swimmer, and he's a freshman, and he's been with us for a few months now, but most of the time your 500 free swimmers are your year-round kids that practice it all the time and they can just do it without thinking. And the reason that it impressed me with him is my son Dillon, he had a real bad cold and some real bad allergies for a couple of days last week, and he's still fighting it a little bit, but he could not breathe out of his nose for 2 days. And I was thinking, holy cow, I've got him signed up to do the 500 free, and he can't breathe all that well. He's going to struggle, and it's going to feel demoralizing to him. So I was like, I'm just going to switch him and Colton. I'm going to put Colton in the 500 free and put Dillon in the 100 back, because when you're in the backstroke, your nose and mouth are out of the water all the time, except for when you do a flip turn. So I thought that would work out better for Dillon to help him out. But it put Colton in a bind. He hasn't been working the 500 free. He hasn't been preparing himself for it. But I knew he would accept the challenge, and he did more than accept it. He came up with a plan, and I didn't tell him until middle of the day that day. And he texted me back and said, Coach, I'm going to do this with my breathing. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. So he had a plan, and he went out there and he executed it. And he swam his last 25 back to the block like he was shot out of a rocket. And most kids can't do that. They don't have that little extra reserve or that little extra drive to finish up like he did. So I was very impressed with that. And this shows this team aspect that's developing with all these swimmers, which is awesome. So those are the things that kind of stood out at the swim meet against Farragut.
Sounds like it was a really good meet. Okay, so before we move on to the next topic, I got another sponsor I'd like to thank, and that is the locally grown gallery, fine art and craft from local artisans. Okay, so moving on, we're going to talk about some of the freshmen. It looks like we've got a lot of freshman students. Okay, so first up, what can you tell us about Maddie?
First year swimming, when she comes to practice, you can tell that she's locked in and wanting to get better and try to learn things. And I believe she improved her 50 free time from the last meet to this previous meet. So I was happy about that. Maddie has a good attitude. She tends to always be in a good mood, and I don't get to see her all that often, and I didn't get to see her all that often in a lot of our practices. Coach Kelly worked with her, and she's done a great job with Maddie, and I'm hoping that Maddie's really enjoying swimming and wants to stick with it for the next 3 years because she can only get better. So that's a good thing for her.
Now, what about Dillon?
Well, Dillon's my son, so I'm probably going to make this pretty minimized because he had the interview last week as well, just talking to him. But Dillon's kind of sneaky. You watch him sometimes and you think that he's a little bit too laid back, or He's not really all that focused, and then he dives in and swims really well. So that's one thing about Dillon. He's kind of a gamer. He's kind of like one of these guys you hear about in football. When you turn the lights on, they can just do it. And, you know, he's not the best swimmer on our team, but he'll tell you he's not, and he'll also tell you the things he needs to work on to become that. And he's got his goals, and hopefully he'll work hard to reach those, and hopefully he'll make a state cut next year.
Okay, now what can you tell us about Tyler?
Tyler, also a first-year swimmer just like Maddie, and you know, he's always in a good mood. He's always, one thing I've always noticed about Tyler is very appreciative. Anytime you say something to him, he always thanks you for it. He's got a great attitude, and I watched him last night in practice, and he swam a 50 free in one of our relays, and you know, he had the lead going into it. And he had 3 more swimmers on his heels, and he found a way to finish off and have his team win that relay last night. So I was very proud of that because it showed that he's getting better and he wants to get better, and just a good all-around kid, and I hope he sticks with it as well.
Now, what can you tell us about Rosalie?
One of our top swimmers. She can do it all 4 strokes. She'll do anything you ask her to do. If you say, you know, I also switched her swim a little bit last week too. I kind of at the last second, and she was just like, okay, no problem, I got it. And went out and swam really well, just like she always does. She's just a workhorse. She's solid all the time. You don't ever get a bad swim out of Rosalie. It's always going to be a good swim. She may not win, but she's probably going to be second or third. She may not beat her time from last time, but she'll be doggone close. And if she's not, she's thinking that she will the next time. She's going to be doing a little bit of coaching tonight to help some kids. That just shows you how well-rounded she is and what a great, solid kid she is.
Now, what can you tell us about Steven?
Steven is, you know, he's only a freshman. He's been swimming a really long time, but his thing is he's been one of the best swimmers in this area for a long time, and everybody knows him and knows how great he is, but you wouldn't know it by talking to him. You wouldn't know by the way he acts. He's very humble, good kid, does anything you ask him to do. I could tell him he's going to swim 4 events, which is not legal. You can only swim 2 individual events, but if I told him he's going to have to swim 4 to replace some kids, he would just go out there and do it and probably win. Very, very happy that he's on our team, and he will be for the next 3 years. And what he'll do, I'll be shocked if he's not a state champion in multiple individual events in his 4 years here. And he doesn't probably expect anything less of himself. Hard-working kid as well. I mean, you can guarantee if Steven's involved, there's a really, really good shot that team or that individual event he's going to win it.
Now, what can you tell us about Amelia?
Which is my daughter, and I'll keep it minimum on her. She's one of the hardest working kids I've ever come across. She doesn't know anything other than what can I get involved in. It reminds me of myself. She loves to stay busy. She's wanting to be in student council next year. She's running for president of her sophomore class. She swims year round. She's thinking about maybe picking up another sport. Her schedule next year is unbelievable, and she would not have it any other way. She's already planned out her sophomore, junior, and senior year, and it's AP, and I've told her, I said, Amelia, you're going to burn yourself out, and she said, no, I'll be fine. I can do it. That's just the way I am, and that's what I want. I want to be able to have the best things that I can possibly have. So just good, solid around kid. She's a lot like Rosalie. They're good at all their strokes. They're kids you can count on, and they're going to be right there in the end.
Now, what about Cassidy?
It's very similar to Maddie and Tyler, first-year swimmer. She works. She surprised me. I mean, I've seen her times get better and better, and I haven't got to see those 3 that we've talked about quite as much in practice as Coach Kelly or got to work with them. And Coach Kelly's just done an awesome job with them. These kids have never swam competitively before, and now they're already doing it just a few months in. And I'm just hoping they enjoy it and that they realize that it takes a lot of hard work to be on any swim team at this level, whether it be high school or club, and that they'll stick with it and get the most out of it, and I hope they do.
Now, we've already heard a lot about Colton in this episode, so what more can you tell us about Colton?
He's very analytical. He's a kid that he likes things drawn out, spoken out, shown to him. He wants as many different ways of seeing it, hearing it, showing it, doing it until he figures it out. And then once he does, he works at it and gets better at it. And, you know, I just think Colton's going to get better and better and better. He's a first-year swimmer as well, just like the other ones. And he has really climbed pretty quickly for a kid that doesn't have that much background in it. So I'm very proud of him.
Okay, now I apologize if I mispronounced his name, but what can you tell us about Israel?
Mm-hmm. Israel Perkins, he's also like Maddie and Tyler and Colton and Cassidy, all first-year swimmers. They all said they want to be on the swim team here at the high school, and most kids won't do that. If they don't have some type of background in it, they're not just going to throw themselves into a high school team like that. But all of them stepped out on a limb and have all hung out on that limb, and they're doing just fine. And Israel is a kid that can better his times. I don't think he realizes how good he could be with the proper work and the proper coaching and just listening. And when Coach Kelly and I talked to him, and if he'll work on those things, he'll get better. And if he'll stick with it, he'll have a shot at being a decent swimmer by his junior or senior year. But it boils down to work ethic and whether you really want to do it or not. And hopefully they'll realize what's best for them.
Okay, now how about what can you tell us about Sarah?
Sarah's another first-year swimmer. We've got a ton of them, and you may be thinking, well, they're freshmen. They should be first-year swimmers. Well, what I mean by that is they've never swam competitively or been in a club swim where they've learned the strokes. They've learned all this stuff from watching videos, listening to Coach Kelly and I, watching other kids, and I think Sarah has taken off unlike most freshmen ever would. She has already made kissel cuts, which is really hard to do if you're not a club swimmer or someone that's not a sophomore, junior, senior has been swimming a while. She just catches on to things. She's very athletic. She's got a huge advantage over a lot of kids in that she's a little taller than average and just very athletic. When she dives in the pool, it looks good. When she swims all her strokes, it looks good. And I just think some of this stuff comes natural to her, almost like it's in her genetics. So I'm pumped about where she's going to end up by her junior and senior years. There's going to be some people worried about trying to compete against her.
Okay, now how about Rachel? What can you tell us about her?
First off, talk about her practice last night. I just thought she looked really good, especially on her backstroke, and I think she's swimming the backstroke this Thursday again for the first time in a while. Rachel is a workhorse. She's one of the most aggressive kids we have on the team. When she dives in the pool, it's all or nothing. There's no holding back. There's no reserving this, reserving that. She's going to see what's in the tank and make sure she runs it out. And she sometimes limits herself on the fact that I don't think she realizes how good she is and how good she can be. If she'll just accept it and take it and run with it, she'll be even better because she's already got the work ethic. She's already got the knowledge, having swam a long time with ACAC. And it's just a delight to have Rachel around. I'm just so glad she's swimming for us.
And how about Zoe?
Another first-year swimmer. Got a ton of them. And Zoe has had to overcome a lot of things that kind of just she wasn't sure of. She had anxiousness about and nervousness about. And she's just step by step overcome all those. And it's been impressive to watch her growth. And I know she enjoys it. I know she wants to come to practice. I know she wants to be at the swim meets. And I just think she's going to get better and better. She's kind of tall for a girl, so that right there is an advantage she has. She's got long arms and legs, which is an advantage. I mean, when she dives in the pool, she's a good ways in there and going. So I expect a lot of things out of Zoe. I expect her to stick with it and be here for the next 3 years and be a really good swimmer by her junior and senior year.
Okay, and our last student. What can you tell us about Natalie?
Natalie, I don't know if she's missed anything. She always comes to everything. She's always on top of stuff. She is always wanting to be in the pool, which is a good thing. She can only get better by doing those things. She's got a good attitude. She's always listening. She's always watching other swimmers and trying to see what she can pick up from them. I believe she has fun at practice, and if Natalie will just pick it up a notch with her work ethic and getting fine-tuned on some of the things she does, she's only going to get better, and she's only going to see results that she's looking for that junior and senior year. And that's what I expect out of her, and I believe she'll step up to the challenge.
Well, from what I've heard, it looks like if not even all of them have to, but if most of these swimmers stick with it, I think we have a very good Oak Ridge swim team to look forward to.
Definitely.
Okay, before we move on to our final category, I'd like to thank another sponsor, and that is the Judkin Law Firm, Caring Professional Legal Services. So, now, what can you just to set us up? What can you tell us about the meet against Catholic this coming Thursday?
Catholic, another good team. We don't have any bad teams on our schedule, and Catholic's a private school, so they're going to have some really good, solid kids that have good club swimming backgrounds. They know the strokes. They know what they're doing. They're going to look like a finely tuned, well-oiled machine. It'll be fun to watch them swim against us, but I expect to win. I'll just be honest. I expect us to go out there in full force and win every single shot. We've got it, and if we don't win, we better be in second. I want to outscore them in points, and I want our kids to know that if they'll get in the pool like they do each week in these meets, especially when they have to step up to really good competition like Catholic, that we have a shot. I'm excited to go against Catholic. I'm excited just to see their kids and their coach. I've never met their coach, but he's a really good guy. He's helped me with a bunch of stuff that I've asked about, and like he's immediately given me an answer. So I'm sure that we'll swim against them every year. I want to. I'm sure they want to. So hopefully this can become a really good rivalry, and be some really good years ahead of both of our for our swim programs. And I just hope it goes really well. I hope it's as smooth as it has been the last 2 weeks, and it'll have the same format as what we just got done with Farragut and West. We'll still do the 500 free, and we'll end the swim meet with the 2 medley relays. But this time we'll have 2 heats of girls and 2 heats of boys. 2 teams of each. We only had 1 team of boys last week, but we've got all our guys back. So we should be in really good shape, and I'm excited.
Okay, this looks like a very interesting meet. I'm looking forward to it. Now, usually, our last category would be questions, but unfortunately, we had a last-minute mishap, and we aren't able to live stream this episode. So, if you have any questions, please just leave them in the comments, and I am sure that if they aren't addressed throughout the week by Coach Hodge, they will for sure be addressed at the start of next week's episode, which hopefully will be live streamed. So, just to wrap this up, one last sponsor I'd like to thank is the Pam Moody Coldwell Banker. Your goals are my goals. Well, thank you so much for watching this episode, and make sure you tune in this Thursday when we, the Oak Ridge Wildcat swim team, go up against Catholic at home. Thanks for watching.